to the Hammered Leatherworks workshop. Today we're going to be making the travel wallet. It's this kit here. So I'm just going to open the bag. This is how it comes inside your box. Okay. You'll find inside the box there will be an all the small things envelope which you open up. There'll be a zip, a needle, thread, and a push button. We put that aside. And then also inside the envelope will be your instructions, labelled like that. Just open those up. So 7 steps to completing the travel wallet. Put that to the side there. You'll notice your kit consists of 2 pieces, one very long piece and one short strap piece. So let's get started. The first step is to take the largest piece of your kit and lay it in front of you with the finished surface of the leather up. This finished surface is the smooth side, and you'll see the Hammered Leatherworks logo on it. Take some leather up and put the hammered shield on your right. So I'm just going to turn that around. I've got that around the wrong way. Hammered shield on the right. So we're going to take the small skinny strap, which is going to become our closing strap. Place this on top of the holes on the left center of the piece. So that's over here. We're going to line the holes up on the left center of the piece. The 2 large holes in the strap will hang off the ledge and it will look like a T. So you can see it's making a T shape there. So our next step is to sew the 2 surfaces together. So we're going to, your kit will come with matching thread. So it will either be black, brown, or khaki, but today I'm actually going to use orange so you guys can see what I'm doing really clearly. So just find the end. So if you haven't looked at our stitching video, you'll want to press pause on this one and head over and look at that one. It'll show you how to make the perfect stitches, how to thread your needle, how to do the actual stitching, and how much thread you're going to need. So we're just going to, so 1, 2, 3, 4, and as it's a short seam, we're going to add a needle length. There it is. We've just upgraded the needles in the kits to these bigger leatherworking needles. They're a little bit longer. We're hoping it'll make it much easier for your sewing. So there we go. So we're going to start between the layers. It's going to pick this up, move it to the middle so you can see it very clearly. So we've lined up our holes. We're going to start in the middle, leave our tail hanging out the edge, and we're going to start our saddle stitch. Now we've reached the end, we're going to go back the way we came. So we've completed the seam. We're going to do our reinforcing stitch and then finish between the middle where we started to tie our knot. So our reinforcing stitch, it means we're going to double the thread in one hole like this. And now we're on the back side. We're going to come up through the back to the middle of the layers and pull. Whoops. Helps if you have your needle threaded. There we go. So between the layers and pull. There we go. So we're just going to knot that off. Double knot as we always do. Trim the tails to about 10 mil and then we're going to tuck them in. If you've got man hands or larger fingers and you find you haven't got fingernails to tuck it in there with, you can use the head of the needle, and then we're going to push it down. Step 2, this is probably the most difficult step in creating the travel wallet. It's actually putting the zip in place. And what's the trickiest part is actually holding the zip in place while you do the stitching. So there's a couple of things you can do here. You can glue the stitch in place, the zip in place, using something like Tiger Grip. This is what we recommend. It's available at most craft stores, Spotlights. It's a white flexible glue like a PVA, and it will dry clear. You just want to be careful you don't use it over the actual holes, because otherwise it's going to be really hard to sew through them when it dries. The other option is you can sticky tape the zipper in place from behind. So you would lay your zip down in the opening as such, and then you would flip it over and put a couple of bits of tape on the back. Alternatively, if none of that's available to you, you can wing it and sew it in freehand. We do often do this. Or take a couple of bulldog clips and whack them on the end, and you'll find that that'll just hold it in place enough for you to get stitching around for the first time. So I'm actually going to glue this zipper in place. I'll show you how I do it. So I actually put the glue on the zip, not the leather. Just going to shake this up. There we go. And we only do it on the very edge. We don't need very much, just a little bit. Remember, this is just to hold it in place while we put the stitches in it, which is what's actually going to hold it there for the rest of its life. So we'll fold this back out again, place it on top. There we go. It's pretty warm here in Australia at the moment, so this is going to glue in place very quickly. There we go. You might find that once you glue your zip in place, you've got a couple of little ends hanging over the edge. Once you've got the zip sewed in, I'll show you how to trim these edges to make them really tidy. So while we're waiting for that to dry, we can measure our thread for our zipper. Now, we're going to measure 3 times the stitching length for the zipper. Now, you've got to remember that the stitching length is the whole square around the edge. Right. So we need this, down a bit lower, there we go, this multiplied by 3. So I'm going to go 1 and 2 and 3. There we go. So you see I've got 3 layers of thread there. We're going to snip the end. Now this is going to be quite long. So we're going to thread our needle again. Our glue should have dried by now. Now when you're placing the zip in place, you want the head of the zipper, when it is closed, to be adjacent to the Hammered Leatherworks text. So when the piece is laying in front of you, the head of the zipper is going to go closest to you. Okay, so we've done this. We've got our zip in place with our craft glue. Now we're going to stitch it in. So give it a bit of a press, make sure it's all glued in nice and tidy. Now this pocket is going to be seen when the wallet is closed. So I tend to like to start under the zipper. I think that when we put the second reinforcing stitch in there, it's where the most stress is, so it's the best place. But you can really start anywhere. So pick this up. Which direction you go really does not matter. It is completely up to you. Either way, you're going to end up doing what we did before. You're going to go all the way around, going up and down like this, and then you're going to come back the way you came. Oops. There we go. So we'll get started. You want to make sure that you tug on your thread after each stitch I realise I'm going over some of the things in the stitching video here, but just making sure, because if you don't, you're going to end up with really loose sewing, so it's not going to hold together for very long, and you'll also find you're going to run out of thread because you left it loose in between. So here we are, we're back where we've started. So we started our stitching here. We've gone all the way around the edge of our zip. So the zip is now secured. It's not going to go anywhere on us, and we can really focus on that, making these stitches beautiful by keeping to the left and the right of the stitch in the hole as the stitching instructions describe. So how we're going to complete this is we're going to go back the way we came, just like a clock. So we'll be going the opposite way now. There we go. So I've come up the inside of this stitch, so I'm going to go down the outside of this stitch. On the corners, as long as you go to the outside of the stitch, you're all good there. We're going to go to the outside of this one. So I'm just going to roll this edge under. So we're going to go to the inside. Oops. Alright, so here we are back where we started. As you can see, every hole around the edge has a stitch in it. So what we're going to do is our reinforcing stitch as we've done before. So that means we're going to put second 2 layers in the final hole. There we go. Turn it over. Because we haven't started between the layers on this one, we're just going to tie the knot on the back. There we go. And trim. Now because this is a wax linen thread, you can push it back against itself and it'll stick to it. So the little bits aren't going to float around. Now an extra step, if you're interested in doing it, you can tap your stitches with a wooden mallet. You can also use the heel of a pair of scissors and just run it down the stitches. And you'll find that it'll just take out any unevenness. There we go. So now we're on to stitch 3. We are making the zip pocket. So before we move on to that, see how we've got the little ends of the zipper tape just hanging out the end? You can take your scissors and just cut them back. You don't want to go too far. You want to go just enough to tuck so the zipper tape falls back within the edges of the wallet, and we don't actually have any hanging out at the other end. So to make the zip pocket, we are going to fold the suede sides of the leather together. So this line here and this line here make the bottom of the pocket. So we're going to fold, we'll turn this over to the suede side so it's easier to see. We're going to fold so they match. This is where bulldog clips come in really handy if you have some, just to hold it in place before you get started. So line up your holes, which is quite easy because you'll be able to see your working surface through them. Whack your little clip on, turn it up the other way, line your holes up and pop a clip on. And now you only have to focus on your sewing. So to sew this seam, we're going to go 4 times our stitch length because it's 2 layers of leather. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. Going to thread our needle. Here we go. Now we're going to start between the layers on this one because we want to hide our little end tail. So you can start wherever you like. I like to start the end where the text is. So you're going to go through just 1 layer. So the tail is between the 2. And you want to leave enough there that you can get your fingers in there to tie it off. We're going to go all the way to the end. Oops. Now I like to work on my sewing from the side that's going to be seen, in which case it's going to be this side here with the zipper in it, and it's going to have the Hammered Leatherworks text on it. There we go. And you're away. So this is where you'll want to be careful. This is where you have to remember to fold the strap back and hang on to it with your hand because you don't want to push your needle through it. So we've reached the end here, so we're going to unclip the bulldog clips because you don't want it to mark the leather, because obviously leaving it squashed for too long will cause it to mark. And now we're going to go back the way we came again. This time keeping in mind our in, out, in, out. Got to watch that strap on the back there. Make sure you don't stitch it down or force a needle through it. So once again, pull it up, hold it out of the way while you cross where the strap is. So here we are, we have stitched all the way across and all the way back. We've got every hole full with a stitch. We're going to turn it over, do our reinforcing stitch, so our extra second stitch in one hole, except when we go back to the other side, we're only going to go through one layer. So we come up in the middle like this. Give it a tug, pull our needle off, and that's how we're going to hide our knot. There we go. Trim and tap. There we go. And once again, if you want it to make it look tidy, you could run the heel of a knife over the stitches like that. Now we're going to poke the little strap through the hole below, and now we're going to finish making the zip pocket by folding the entire piece up. So you'll notice this time we're going to be matching 3 layers of holes on this edge here. So once again, this is where your clips come in handy if you've got some, otherwise you can just hold it. And you want to line up the holes. You'll find that you can see daylight through them if you've got them lined up correctly. The only thing that might be blocking you might be your zip. So I'm going to put a clip on that end. I'm going to give this end a squish, and we're going to line it up. It's going to line up to there. There we go. And we're going to give a clip on there. So that's going to do the holding for us. So once again, we're going to go 4 times our stitch length, especially now that we're going through 3 layers of leather. So there's our 1 time, 2, 3, 4. There we go. So we're going to trim that, and then we're going to use that one to measure the next, because we've got 2 sides to sew. There we go. So I'm going to put one of those aside. And I'm going to thread my needle with the other. There we go. So, reading off the instructions, you start between the layers. Which side you start on is up to you. You can do your knot on the inside, or you could do your knot on the outside. It is up to you. I'm going to start on the inside, and I'm going to make my knot at the top here. Because it's on the inside, I need it to be really close to the top so I can get my fingers in there to actually tie it. So I'm going to start at the second hole down with my tail, I'm just going to poke it towards the inside because that's where we're going to tie it off. And then I'm going to go up to my top holes first. I'm doing that because that's really going to help keep everything lined up. There we go. So we've done that top hole first. Now that's in position, we can get moving on the rest. The only hole you might not be able to see all the way through will be the layout where your zipper is, if you haven't trimmed your zippers all the way back like I haven't. Naughty me. So you can just spread the layers apart, which will help you, and then locate the hole and push it through. There we go. So here we are. We're going to do our last stitch. Oops. It's going to rethread that. It's come undone. There we go. We're going to do our reinforcing stitch. So we're putting 2 layers through our last stitching hole, and then we're going to go down 2 layers because this is a 3-layer seam, and come up between the 2 like this. Oops. Would help if I stopped pulling the thread out of the top of my needle. There we go. I'm going to put that in there. Let the leather hold it for me. Put the thread back through the needle and pull. There we go. So we're going to do as we've done before. We're going to tie a double knot nice and firm. Just like that. Trim the tails and tuck them down. There we go. And our next step is to repeat the same on the other side. So the piece of thread we cut earlier, we're going to pop that on our needle. And we're going to do the same thing. So I'm going to go up the second hole down, leaving a tail on the inside of the project. And then we're going to make sure our next stitch is through all 3 top holes. Oops. There we go. And then we can take the clip off. So here we are, making our last stitch again on this edge. We're going to push the needle through, do our reinforcing stitch, the 2 layers of thread in the 1 hole, And then when we go through this side, we're going to go down 2 layers. Here we go. Oops. Mine's being a little bit finicky. There we go. Perfection. So we're going to tie that off. And snip. And tuck the ends in. There we go. So if you wanted to make the top edge of this money pocket more defined, you can wet it with a sponge and give it a bit of a push. That'll help to wet it. Or you can just wait until we use the wallet and that'll do the same thing. So before we do the pockets on the other end, which is for our passport and our credit cards, we're going to take the push button and unwind it and push it and pop that in place. So we're going to push that through the hole there, turn it over and screw the button on top. There we go. So this final part is really simple. You're really on the home stretch now. So we're going to fold the pocket over so the top holes match, and that is how we're going to create our card pocket and our passport pocket. So we're going to measure one seam like this. We're going to times that by 4 as we've done before. There we go, that's our piece. Now we're going to sew 3 of these seams. So using that one as your template, we're going to cut another 2. 1. 2. So now we have 3 pieces all the same length. So I'm going to put one of these on our needle. Now there is a little trick to this. The secret is to do the middle row first. The reason we do the middle row first is because if you do the outsides, you're going to find it really hard to get in there to tie your knot off. So we're going to do it first. So I'm going to fold up the edge and I'm going to come up the 3rd hole down on this piece. I'm going to line up our holes. Here we go. And off we go. There we go. So we're going to do our reinforcing stitch as we've done before. 2 layers of thread in the last hole, and then we're going to make sure when we come up, we're going to come up between the layers again like that. And you see now what I mean about if you'd stitch these ends down, it would actually be really difficult to get in there to tie your knot. There we go. And for the next one, second last one, you're almost there. Here we go. So here we are making our last stitch again. Down we go. Did it again. I'm going to put that reinforcing stitch in, 2 layers in the 1 hole, and then up we come between the layers and tie our knot. Trim, tuck. Woohoo! Just one more to go. So grab your thread, thread it onto your needle for the very last time. I'm going to do the same thing, so 3rd hole down, pushing our tail to the inside. There we go. Lining that up, and in we go. Here we go, we're up to that last stitch now. So we're going to do our 2 layers of thread, tucking through with our tails between. We're going to, I left my tail a little bit short there, but that's okay, it's enough. I'm going to tuck that in there, knot number 1. Knot number 2, we're going to do our trim and tuck. There we go. I'll turn this over and I'm just going to use the handle of the scissors to just smooth out the stitches. Do the same on this side. Oops, tuck that zipper in. And fold it closed. And close. Voila! You have done it. This is your new travel wallet. You can take it anywhere in the world. I know people who actually use them as their regular everyday wallets, and they keep their receipts here and their credit cards there and all their cash in there. You've got a beautiful high quality YKK zip. Huge pocket for documents and notes. It is A4 wide, so you can fit flight documents in there if you've had to print them on your computer. So congratulations. I hope you've enjoyed the experience. Don't forget you can shop online and get more kits at hammeredleatherworks.com.au. We're available all the time on our Facebook page and Instagram account. So if you have any questions or you want to share your project with us, we'd love to see it. Don't forget to #HammeredLeatherworks. Thanks for the journey and see you again soon.